welcome to episode 224 of our SAP on Azure video podcast. Today is January 8th, and together with Robert and Goran, we're here to talk about anything related to SAP and Microsoft. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Hello.
So the topic of data integration, especially when it comes to integrating SAP data into Microsoft Fabric, is top of mind for many of our customers at the moment. Among other things, Fabric enables users not only to work easily with Power BI, but also benefits from a tight integration with Copilot. End of 2024, our colleague Ulrich published a blog post talking about the integration of SAP data in Fabric. In addition to our out-of-the-box capabilities from Microsoft, he also mentioned several partners who have worked with us to enhance the existing SAP data integration capabilities to support Microsoft Fabric. So today, we will provide a quick update on Fabric and SAP, focusing on the new mirroring functionalities. In following episodes, we will then take a closer look at some of these partner solutions and show how they work together. So Ulrich, I actually looked back at some of our episodes where you joined us, and if we look at the view numbers, these are really some of the most popular videos. Yes, so the data topic is really something that interests anyone, or everyone. So maybe before we take a look at the topic, maybe you can, as always, quickly introduce yourself, what you do at Microsoft, and then we'll take a closer look at the SAP integration.
Yeah, thanks for the introduction, Holger. So my name is Ulrich Christ. I'm a product manager in the Microsoft data integration team. So I'm basically part of the Fabric organization and responsible for parts of the data integration topics, and I'm focusing on SAP data integration. So whenever it comes to customers who are asking us how to integrate their SAP data with Fabric, that is basically the domain I'm working on.
Perfect, cool. And as mentioned, Fabric is something that is top of mind for a lot of customers, but we also introduced a mirroring technology that is potentially, or can also potentially be used by SAP. So maybe you can tell us a little more about that.
Yeah, let me share my screen, my slides here. Not sure if you can see that now.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, awesome. Then let's get started. So I will start with a very brief introduction to Fabric, just to set the scene for everyone. And then we'll step by step dive into the mirroring topic and show you what's currently possible there and how we're basically working on that topic specifically for SAP sources. And as you said, one of the main aspects here is also that we're collaborating a lot with partners. So what is Microsoft Fabric? Well, Microsoft Fabric is a software as a service offering, which basically gives you a comprehensive analytic capabilities for modern analytics. So basically all the workloads which you need for state-of-the-art analytics, starting with data integration, data engineering, notebook experiences for data engineers, data warehousing for relational workloads, data science and machine learning capabilities, real-time intelligence for stream analytics, for example, and of course, rendering and visualization capabilities in Power BI. All of that comes out of the box as one service in Microsoft Fabric. The foundation of all of this is OneLake. OneLake is basically, you can think of it as a software as a service version of AWS Gen 2. So it's basically a data lake service provisioned as part of Microsoft Fabric. So all of these workloads come combined in one service. They all use the same storage layer, which is OneLake. They use unified formats. So whatever data is produced by one of these workloads, every other workload can consume right away without any conversions or with any proprietary formats. Any data you for example, create or integrate using Data Factory, so the data integration capabilities which we have, you can directly use in a Power BI dashboard, right? Without any import or anything which you need on top. It all works in a seamlessly integrated way. Okay.
I think one also interesting aspect here is that it says Unified Data Platform. So exactly. it's a platform, and I guess similar like other platforms, and that's also where the whole discussion with partners comes from, is that you can do stuff on this platform. You can develop, you can build extensibilities on this platform.
Exactly. I think the term platform can be interpreted in two ways here. Of course, it's a data platform, which is basically what I just described. So it gives you all the capabilities you need to work with your own data, but it's also a platform for partners, as you just mentioned, right? So we even have ways to extend the workloads which you have here by partner workloads. So partners can create their own workloads and ship them as part of the Fabric experience, right? So there's partner workloads which partners can implement and which are basically seamlessly part of the Fabric experience. Customers will see them under additional workloads and then can use them, right? So in that sense, it's also a platform for partners to extend the capabilities. And that's a crucial point, as we will see later on in the SAP data integration topic as well.
Ulrich, is there actually then a partner app store or something like that? Or how would I as a customer see these partner solutions?
Kind of. So there's a simple user experience where you can choose those workloads, right? You can choose which workload you want to work with. And there are, of course, the built-in workloads, which you see here, but there are also the partner workloads, right? So there's basically like two tabs. You see the workloads which we provide, and there's another tab for partner workloads. And then customers can leverage all of that. Another aspect which you mentioned is, of course, AI, right? Everything is you will find copilots everywhere, from the data integration area to also Power BI, right? There's a Power BI copilot which basically proposes certain visualizations for dashboards. When you create a notebook, you have a copilot which helps you code. All of that is pervasive, right? So there's AI everywhere in the whole tool, and of course we also have cataloging capabilities which are basically summarized under the term purview here. Right, so that's basically a summary of the Fabric platform. Now let's dive a little bit deeper into the data integration topic, which is summarized under the Data Factory workload here. So with Data Factory, we basically again want to bring all of the capabilities you need for data management, starting with data integration over transformation, monitoring, all of that out of the box as part of the Fabric service. On the left-hand side, you see the connectivity piece. So we provide, I think, 170 plus connectors out of the box with Fabric for a variety of sources, including SAP. Unfortunately, the SAP logo is missing here, by the way, but we do have connectivity for SAP, of course, out of the box as well. Then we have capabilities for orchestration, like pipelines, which you can create to orchestrate your data management tasks. We have data movement skills, which basically are capabilities which allow you to simply move data from one source into one lake as a sink. Transformation capabilities to manipulate the data, to harmonize data which comes from different sources. All of that comes out of the box in Fabric Data Factory. And on the right-hand side, you also see, of course, that we have deployment capabilities, we have CI/CD capabilities, and observability, monitoring. All of that is coming out of the box as well. Again, you see the AI frame around it, right? And I mentioned that we have copilots. For example, when it comes to creating a pipeline, you can type what kind of pipeline you want in a kind of a copilot experience, and we propose a pipeline for that purpose. Right? So that's basically a very quick introduction summary of what Microsoft Fabric Data Factory does. And now for today's session, we want to focus on one very specific item here. This is a summary of some items from a different presentation. We want to focus on the database mirroring topic, which is a super hot topic because it's super relevant for a lot of customers. It's basically, if you want to summarize it in one sentence, it's basically about how we envision change data capture for Fabric, right? So not simply taking data snapshots, but synchronizing data from a source with your data estate in one lake. So starting with an initial snapshot, which you take at a certain point in time, and then followed up by change data capture, which takes all the changes in the source as they occur and replicates them and synchronizes them with your one lake sync, so that you always have a sync which is in sync with your source. This and this is summarized under the term mirror database here. We're supporting this from multiple sources out of the box, and there's also, as we mentioned, because we're a platform, there's also extensibility here, and we're allowing partners to integrate with that as well. That's basically what we're going to see later on in this presentation, and also in the subsequent presentations, which we're going to in the subsequent podcasts, which we'll do with these partners, which
with the partners,
earlier. Yeah. So how does this database mirroring work? As I said, it's basically a way to replicate source data into your OneLake data estate. It's super easy to set up. That's one of the key aspects here. We want to make it a very simple experience, right? No complex setup, very simple and straightforward wizard-based experience where you basically specify certain settings, and then the engine under the hood starts and moves all the data and keeps it in sync in near real time. The term mirroring is free, is super important for lots of customers. They're super keen on that. What it really means is we don't charge for the compute and the storage of that data, which you mirror into Fabric, right? So if there are, for example, in the context of these partner workloads or in the context of partner solutions, which can also be part of that, as we will see later on, there will of course potentially be fees for the partner solutions or licenses which are required for the partner solutions. But what we are doing in this context in terms of storage and compute is free from a customer's perspective.
And so it's really, I mean, the term mirroring implies it already, but it's near real time. So really, if my source database has some changes, then I don't have to wait for a day or whatever to get these changes into Fabric, but it's near real time.
That's what the system is designed for. You know, later on when it comes to the partner workloads or the partner integration with this, it also of course depends on the capabilities of the partner tool, of the third-party tool which is involved. But in principle, the whole framework and also the demo, which we'll see later on, will show you that the whole concept and the implementations which we have shipped so far are capable of doing this in near real time.
And if I look here at Cosmos DB SQL Server as an example there, as the available connectors, they all support this near real-term integration.
Exactly. Now, maybe let's have a quick look at this diagram to just indicate how this works, because it's also no worries, because it's also important to understand later on how we open up this concept for partners. So basically, it's a two-step process, right? There's basically the connectivity piece to the source, which reads the change data feed from the source and lands it in a landing zone. So that's basically part one of the processing, right? You need to fetch the changes from the source and land them somewhere in intermediate storage. And then we have the mirroring engine, which basically processes the change data feed and updates the changes to the sink, right? So this is basically where you get the raw changes, like a log of changes as they occur in the source, as you just mentioned. And this can potentially be near real time. It could potentially also be batch, right? This really depends on, at least from a conceptual perspective, this is completely arbitrary. What we do here is basically that we check on a very high frequency whether new changes have been landed, and then we process these changes and update the sink accordingly. So this is by design, or by implementation, I would say this is near real time. Whether this part of the process is near real time or not depends on the implementation. But as we said, I mean, it's technically possible. Most of the sources will support it. It's the aspiration and the idea behind the whole thing, but it's not a must-have. Maybe for some customers, it's not even necessary or not even wanted, right? So
I fully understood, yeah. And then in this landing zone, basically, I really then have these entries. A new field has been created, or this field has been updated, this field has been deleted. And obviously, as you said, this could come even as a batch, but once it is in this landing zone, it's more or less immediately processed.
Exactly. So we have a certain latency. We don't check on a sub-second basis, but I think we check every couple of seconds. We check whether the new file has been written into this landing zone, and then we process the changes which are stored in that file. That's basically how the process works.
Just thinking, partners have ability to have those connectors in addition to ours, but then the landing zone, the CDS processing table, AI, all is part of the Fabric framework, if I correctly understand, meaning all the functionalities just then comes out of the box.
Well, I have not explained, I mean, I have not explained yet how we do the integration with partners or with third-party tools. The diagram looks a little bit different for partners, right? So this is basically what we built when we talk about an end-to-end mirroring experience, as we will see it in a demo in a few seconds, right? Where we provide the connector, where we do all the fetching of the CDC feed and so on. The integration with partners we'll talk about in a second.
Okay.
But you're right. I mean, this is basically all integrated in Fabric. In this case, the end-to-end process is owned by Fabric, and we found a way to open this up to also accommodate third-party tools. So maybe after this introduction, let's roll a video and have a look at a demo for Snowflake, right, where we basically show how Snowflake mirroring works. We also have additional links in the comments of the video for a guy in the cube session on database mirroring. We also have some links to the documentation so that customers can also check that. So a lot of additional information which goes way beyond what we are discussing today.
Perfect. Okay, then let's play the video.
So let's have a look at a mirroring demo. What you see here is we're creating a mirrored Snowflake database. Right? We select mirrored Snowflake. We're selecting a connection to a Snowflake instance here. Once we have that, we pick the database inside Snowflake from which we want to replicate data. We click on connect. Now we'll fetch the catalog of that database, and we select all the tables from there. We want to replicate everything, and we click on create mirrored database. And then the whole engine starts, right? So the replication starts. When you go to the replication monitor, you will see that the process is running, how many rows have been replicated for each of these tables. And when you move on to the SQL Analytics endpoint, you can see that all those tables have now replicas on the Fabric side, right? Those are the replicated data with the replicated data, and you can actually query those, do a preview, write a SQL query, or use them for any purposes. So now that you've seen the demo for Snowflake, what are the other sources which we support and what's our roadmap? You see, under the generally available connectors for which we support mirroring, besides Snowflake, you also see Cosmos DB and Azure SQL databases. Of course, we are going to support more of the Azure databases, so we'll support standard SQL Server. We'll also support Azure SQL Managed Instance. We'll support Postgres, and we also have a story around Oracle. So we are partnering with Oracle as well. And for Oracle, as I already said just a second ago, we actually took a slightly different approach because Oracle has its own way of providing the changes. We don't have to create a connector which fetches the changes from the Oracle source, but Oracle can actually push the changes. So we slightly modified the whole mirroring concept and opened it up for partners. And Oracle, as I said, is kind of one of the first partners who adopted this what we call open mirroring, as you see on the top. And integrated it with their own data integration capabilities. So for people who are familiar with the Oracle toolset, Oracle Golden Gate is a very famous data integration tool or change data capture tool for Oracle sources. And basically what we did in that context is we changed the first part of the process. The second part, which takes the changes and processes the changes and synchronizes the changes with the sync table, is exactly the same. The first part we basically opened up in a way that we don't need a connector which connects to the source, but we allow sources to push the data into the landing zone. And Goran, this I guess alludes to your question earlier. This is how we actually do the integration with partners. Right? So we basically provide a set of APIs and a specification of how we expect the data to land in the landing zone, the formats, right? So we expect change data to land in Delta Parquet format with additional metadata columns, with prescribed keys to understand whether a record is an insert, update, or delete. So all that is part of the landing zone specification, which we share with partners, and everybody who implements this specification in terms of the the structure, right, of the structure of the landing zone, and also the APIs which we provide for that can basically be part of that. Right? As I said, Oracle Golden Gate is one of the first tools. You also see that in the documentation which we have linked. We have other partners who have adopted this as well already. And they basically push the data into the landing zone. We realize, okay, there's a new table coming in or a new change data file coming in, and our mirroring engine processes it and takes the changes into the same table. That's how the integration works with Oracle, and of course that's a pattern which we replicate with other partners as well. You see that Stream is another one for MongoDB. We also have that available as of now, and we're working with additional partners, especially also in the SAP ecosystem, on a similar integration. And now we're basically, after I don't know how much time we have talked already, now we are finally coming to SAP to the SAP topic for this.
Very quickly before you go there, so basically, I as a partner or as a content provider, I only need to adhere to a certain specification on how I push the data into this landing zone. Again, these are just the change data capture information. This field has updated. There's a new entry here. This field was deleted, and then Data Factory basically takes care of all the merging into the tables.
Exactly.
So it sounds for me fairly easy as a content provider to just create a required
form. It's not difficult. I mean, especially if you, the hard part typically is this one, right? To get the change data out of a certain source. We all know how hard this is for SAP, right? People have struggled with this for SAP sources for many, many years. And when you just, for every source, this is very source specific and requires knowledge about the source, right? So this is kind of the hard part of the problem. And if you've solved this part of the problem, writing into the landing zone is super easy, right? It's writing into data lake. One lake is very similar to ADLS Gen 2. So if a tool can already write data into ADLS Gen 2, moving this to one lake is super simple, right? Authentication is slightly different, but the APIs are almost 100% the same. Right? And then the other thing which you have to do is, of course, you can't just dump the data in your own style. You have to adhere to our format, which basically means ideally do it in Delta Parquet, and the change indicators, the column for the change indicator needs to have a certain name, and you have to adhere to a certain nomenclature when it comes to how to mark an insert, an update, or a delete. Right? You can't write IUC if that's your nomenclature. You have to adhere to what we specify in the docs. That's basically, but it's super simple.
Okay, cool.
All right.
And basically, when regardless of the connector type, be the Microsoft or partner, when the data come into landing zone and basically into all Fabric framework, it is the same thing what you can do it regardless of which kind of connector you are using it, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And the source here, it could be anything. And you're right. In principle, a customer could implement this for, potentially any other. It doesn't even have to be their own application, or could be their own application for which they want to write a feed into this landing zone. They could. It's a very, very simple thing to implement. It's really low effort to integrate with our mirroring, our open mirroring.
But one question, but then on a connector side, on the customer side or partner side, they need to take care about converting between one format to another format, fit to target format, which is on landing zone, make string shorter, make string bigger, whatever. So they need to do that on the connector side, or is there somehow assumption? Okay, just send the raw data. Of course, you need to somehow adapt the data types, and then later do the cleansing and formatting.
In this context, in general, I would say, don't massage the data, don't manipulate the data during this ingestion, right?
Okay.
Ingest the raw change data. We'll process the raw change data, and you will land the raw data as it comes from the source. All the cleansing you would typically do, at least that's the standard process in data warehousing, you would typically do later on, right? You try to ingest the data with minimal changes, because also from a failure perspective, and error probability perspective, the more manipulation you do with the data during this processing, the higher the likelihood of errors is, right? And you really don't want such a change data process to break, because if it breaks, you lose changes, right? If the process stops and your source continues to process changes, then basically your CDC feed is corrupt and you need to start all over. That's one of the reasons why, keeping things simple in change data capture is kind of key. And you basically postpone all the data cleansing, data harmonization, and all of that to later phases in your data processing stage.
Okay.
All right. So what's our story regarding SAP partners in this context? Well, we're currently working with 6 partners from the SAP ecosystem on an integration with mirroring. All of these partners have established extraction capabilities from SAP sources. They all have their own add-ons, which you install on your SAP server, and which can get data and change data out of SAP. They can already land it in OneLake, by the way, as of now. That's capability which they've all had for a couple of months now. So they just dump the data, not in the format specified and not integrated with mirroring, but basically just as files in OneLake, which is a very first step, right? So customers can already use these tools as of now. All of these tools are SAP certified, so that's a very good aspect here as well. And I just mentioned it, right? You can already use these tools to just dump data in OneLake. And now basically the next step which we're taking with these partners is to enhance their capabilities from simply writing into OneLake to doing it in a way, as we just described, that integrates with mirroring, which basically means they have to adjust the way they write the data a little bit, change some of the column names potentially, change some of these codes to comply with our specification, and then they are ready to basically support mirroring. And that's basically what we're going to see and discuss over the next episodes.
Right. And I mean, this is not an exclusive list, right? So if I'm another partner and I see, well, look, I have great database experiences. I know SAP inside out. I have already another add-on. I could very easily look at the specifications for the data mirroring, basically, and develop my own connector. Maybe also reach out to you to
I
align.
think at the moment, I mean, we're still in early phases of that, so it makes a lot of sense to reach out to us, all of these partners, and that's why we list them here, why we know about them, right? Because they have closely collaborated with us. And we're also making sure that these partners get visibility because they are investing so much of their time into collaborating with us. That's why we kind of, in quotes, promote them, or at least highlight them in many aspects. But there might be partners out there which are currently working on this without us even knowing.
So basically, this could also be a call to action. If you are a partner.
Yes. Also from a customer's perspective, by the way. I mean, some of these names are very well known in the SAP space, right? But there are also names missing here. Also very well-known names are missing here. So if a customer comes up, or if a partner comes up and says, hey, I would like to collaborate with you, or I would like my preferred SAP data integration partner to collaborate with you, reach out. We are open for anyone. This is not an exclusive partnership, as we said. I mean, this is about providing a platform, right? So everybody can be part of that. There's no exclusiveness at all. And that's the beauty of it, right? It basically opens, I mean, it enhances the capabilities of Fabric from our perspective, because everybody can basically bring to the table what they are good at. It also offers a potential marketplace to all of these partners to market their tooling on a platform which is super interesting and then top of mind for a lot of customers at the moment, right? Data Factory and Microsoft Fabric is top of mind in all of the Microsoft conversations we're having these days.
Yeah, fantastic. Great. I think this is really, really interesting, especially since, as I mentioned before, I mean, on the one hand, if we look at our own statistics, we can see that the data topic is super important, but also when talking to customers, the SAP integration into Fabric always comes up, or in most cases comes up. So it's great to see that there is this momentum, that we have this first set of partners that are working on these kinds of integrations. That I'm looking forward to seeing their solutions.
And as I said, I mean, I haven't talked about timelines here, and maybe we should do that before we close the call. This is not far distant future, right? First partners, like DAB is already onboarding first customers. And I think Simplement will follow suit soon, right? So we already have partners who are ready to get started with customers. So if anyone is interested and just wants to play around with it or get in contact with any of these partners, it's actually the right time to do that now. Not all of the partners have finalized all their developments, and then of course there's a certain delay until this functionality gets shipped with the next release of the partner tool. But our plan is to basically be ready with all of these partners by end of Q1, maybe early Q2. So it's a matter of months. If you're interested in that, no need to wait. Reach out to us, reach out to those partners if you're already in contact with them, and let's get started.
Perfect. Let's get started. I think that's a nice closing for this call. Thank you so much, Ulrich. We'll see each other again in the call with the partners as well. And I'm looking forward to seeing their results.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Super.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.